Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Hotline Miami 2 Wrong Number. The events of this game take place before, during, and after the events of the first game, and they bounce between several different characters, so it can be a little difficult to keep track of the plot. So I just read a synopsis of the game to keep everything in order once I rolled the credits on this game, which helped me fully understand what exactly I played through this, because this game is a drug-induced fever dream, and I feel quite frazzled having now just beaten it, especially because I played this over the course of 2 days, and this game being significantly longer than the first one. I have played a ton of this game in a short amount of time, and because of the aesthetics of this game and the music and the storyline, it just kind of messes with your brain a little bit, but I kind of feel like that's in a good way. Like, I really enjoyed my time playing through this game. The main, plot of this game is really, the follow-up after the events of the first Hotline, and our main character that we played through, known as Jacket, he is going on trial for all of these murders that he committed in the first game, and so there is a lot of repercussions from that. So there is a movie star that's starring in a movie that is reflecting on his actions, like a copycat killer. And there's a group of these vigilantes who also don the animal mask to copy this murderer. There's a person trying to run a story based off of those murders, and then there's a corrupt detective basically that is investigating all these murders. Anyway, basically, if you want to know the plot of this game, it is murder, basically. It might not be the most appropriate time to be playing this game as well, because if you remember in the first game, it has a lot of ties to the Russian mafia, and this game also has significant ties to the Russian mafia and the Soviet Union in general, and I won't go any more into that, but it might just hit a little close to home during these really troubling times of ours, at least at the time of this recording. So yeah, it's definitely not a feel-good game. Don't go into this expecting Kirby or something. Visually, it looks very similar to the original Hotline Miami. There might be some more small details, like clothes thrown across the floor, or just little details like that. It did make things, I had this trouble in the first game as well, but I had difficulty telling what could be acted as cover from gunshots and what people could see through. Like what walls are made out of glass and what enemies can't see through, and what objects would stop my pathway and what I could just walk over. And once you play through the level a couple times, you kind of get used to your surroundings. But whenever you go into a new level, it's kind of like you have to be really careful to determine what you can use as cover or not. Sometimes you go into rooms like these clubs with this flashing neon light, but it is very dark, and when I am playing handheld on the Switch, it can be quite difficult to see. You do encounter dogs in this game, like Rottweilers, and the tops of them are black, and because the view is this top-down perspective, it can be a little difficult to see enemies like dogs in really dark rooms before it's too late. This game does play a little smoother. I still had difficulty aiming, just like in the first game, but it felt like maybe it was a little more lenient with its lock-on feature. I would just always struggle with this mechanic, however. Well, in my head, I felt like I was playing a lot better than when I did in the first Hotline Miami. I feel like I've had a lot more experience playing this type of game at this point, and I was really proud of myself, but it seems like my grades are a lot worse than when I played through the first one. So in the first one, I get a couple B's, a couple C's, and a couple of A's. In this game, it seemed to be the average of D grades, which D's and C's, I'll say. And okay, well, that's fine, as long as I'm beating the game, right? And I'm not sure, the parameters of how they grade you. Obviously, they want you to go on, they want you to chain these kills, and that's how you really rack up the points. Whereas, I'll kill one person and then go and hide and wait for things to cool down. Kill one person and then go hide, wait for things to cool down, because it is so scary, because one shot will kill you and then you have to start the room all over again. So I played very cautiously, and they don't seem to like that in terms of grading. I'm not sure if getting a higher grade gives you anything, more just a sense of self-satisfaction, I suppose. But it is a really difficult game. I'm not sure how many times I can state that, but it is quite frustrating. Even though you don't have to go through a loading screen if you die, it just puts you right back in the room and starts you over. I would struggle on some of these rooms over and over again for at least like half an hour, and I was just beating my head, and eventually I would get so frustrated that I start making stupid moves. Like I start just rushing through the room and just trying to clear it as fast as possible, and I would get these rhythms down, like, okay, so hit that guy, grab his knife, hit the guy that saw you, hit the other guy, and knife him up. Okay, now execute the guy on the floor, and I would get these patterns down, but then as I would die over and over again, I would get quite frustrated and play quite stupidly rather than planning out my next move. There's nothing worse than just clearing a room of like 49 of these bad guys, and there's one guy left, and he's like, okay, he just has a crowbar, he doesn't even have a gun, no problem, and somehow the guy with the crowbar hits you before you're able to kill him, and that can be a really bad feeling because you have to start the whole room over again. It's moments like those that make me wish that I could hurry and make some sort of save state and just do that last part if I die, you know? It's just, oh man. There's nothing more satisfying though when you finally do clear that room that you've been struggling with for a long time. I don't know, the gameplay just kind of stuck with me. It just clicked, like a light switch was turned on or something, and I've just got in the zone, you know? Like I said, I was playing this game for a long time over the course of like one day. I was playing a ton of this game, and it's just like you get in that Tetris effect zone where you're just in zen with massacring the whole room. And also, alongside that, I felt myself getting a little desensitized to all of this violence. I mentioned in the first one that this game even disturbed me a little bit, and this game even ramps that up from the first game, and it's just like, I don't know, like I got so desensitized to it, it didn't even bug me that the room is just splattered with blood and organs and all of this grotesque stuff. Now, this has happened to me before where I've just become so desensitized to the violence, and then I'll go and play like a month of Animal Crossing, and I'll become resensitized to that kind of violence, but like as of right now, like totally not even bugged or swayed by it at all. I did encounter just a couple of bugs, nothing too groundbreaking, except for one time where an enemy like totally wandered off of the screen and I couldn't kill him, and so I had to restart the whole level again. That was frustrating. There's times when enemies have like a walking path, and this kind of acts like a stealth game. Like, okay, this enemy just walks around the room, so you have to time when you move so the enemy doesn't see you, that kind of thing. And you can disrupt these walking paths by creating noise from a gun or killing a guy next to him. And sometimes I noticed these enemies would get stuck in a weird walking path, like in between two objects, and just bounce back and forth, and it would look a little weird. It was more entertaining, but yeah, I would notice that their walking paths would get a little wonky. I praised the soundtrack in the first game, and this game is even better in terms of that music. I absolutely loved the music in this game. It was so hype is the only word I can describe. Like when you're in a club and you get that like that deep bass and like that electronic music. It's certainly a soundtrack that I will listen to after having now beaten this game. I could see myself listening to this over and over again because I loved the music in this game. And I really enjoyed the plot in this game a lot more than the first one too. The first one felt like a little more bare bones, and in this game, just because it's bouncing all over the place and you get the story beats in between each mission, it kept me more hooked than in the first game where it's just like, okay, clear this room, clear this room, clear this room, and it all felt really the same with nothing much to break it up. In this game, it's just like bouncing between all these characters with all these different abilities, and it kept the game fresh the whole way through. Overall, if you aren't disturbed by this level of violence and you aren't scared of this level of difficulty, I heartily recommend this game, actually. I think this game is awesome, and it just really clicked and vibed with me, and in a good way, like not in a murderous way, like I'm not gonna go on a rampage or anything like that. I just thought that this game was really, really fun and enjoyable, and I think I would give this game a 4 out of 5. It's been a heck of a ride. Obviously play through the first one first because it's not that long and it's not that too big of a time commitment, but definitely give Hotline Miami 2 a chance because it is an interesting experience, I'll say that. Well guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Hotline Miami 2, Wrong Number, or the Hotline Miami series in general, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!